Like most Vocaloid fans, I was first introduced to the Vocaloids by Hatsune Miku. When she was released in 2007, she was so good, so fresh, and original for the time, people assumed that she was the very first Vocaloid. Of course, we would later learn about the previous Vocaloids, but in 2007, even the Japanese had to be reminded about the first generation. Kaito's rediscovery helped him become a commercial success and a fan favorite, but his counterpart Meiko, Japan's very first Vocaloid, ended up being left behind. Meiko was released on November 5, 2004, with very promising sales figures. She sold around 3,000 units in her first year, which gave Krypton the money and the confidence to work on future voice banks. However, after the release of the second generation Japanese Vocaloids like Miku, Rin, Gumi, and Luca, Meiko's sales quickly dried up. Why? Well, being the first Japanese Vocaloid meant that the developers at Krypton were learning as they went. They had nothing commercial to base their product on, nor any guides to follow. The Vocaloid 1 engine was also very different than the Vocaloid 2 engine that the newer Vocaloids were being released for. It offered different tools and capabilities, but the biggest thing was that the Vocaloid 1 engine's user interface was only available in English, even in Japan. Plus, there were many more female Vocaloids being created than male Vocaloids, so producers were willing to adjust to the older engine to use Kaito. Meiko's release was also rushed, and because Kaito came out over a year after Meiko, the developers had a little bit of experience to apply to his voice bank, so it was a bit smoother and easier to tune. Her dwindling sales were the result of a combination of factors, but Meiko never went away completely. If you really disliked Meiko for some reason, you could potentially argue that she only maintained her relevancy due to her relationship to Kaito, but no. I submit that no other Vocaloid sounds like Meiko does. With the way Vocaloids are created and the way the software works, different voice banks can sound very similar on certain notes, especially when they are heavily manipulated or high-pitched. So it can sometimes be difficult to tell which voice bank is used in a given song. But with all of the Vocaloids released to date, none of them can stand in for Meiko, and I think that's why she has persisted. Her voice was choppy and difficult to use, but it had something undeniable. It was just being held back by the technology and the inexperience of its developers. Today, Vocaloid-based rock music, sometimes called Voca Rock, is a popular Vocaloid subgenre, and we have Meiko to thank for it. When the high-pitched vocals of Miku and Rin were becoming quite popular, there was a small group of Japanese Vocaloid producers who wanted to show that Vocaloids could do more than just pop music. Vocaloids could rock, too, and Meiko made a brilliant point of it. Meiko was not designed specifically for one genre of music, but she could do rock music far better than the other Vocaloids until the arrival of later mature female vocalists such as Luca and Lily, who helped solidify the Voca Rock genre. Plans to update Meiko and Kaito were discussed as early as 2009, with some test voice banks being recorded that year. In 2010, Krypton polled around 8,000 Vocaloid producers and core fans about the possibility of a Meiko update, and they received a positive response, so they gave the green light to the project. Meiko Append was initially developed for the Vocaloid 2 engine, and a couple of previews of these voice banks were released. A Vocaloid 2 Meiko Append voice bank was also used in the Project Mirai game for the 3DS. The project was updated for the Vocaloid 3 engine in December of 2011, and in 2012 Krypton said that they were developing an English voice bank for Meiko. Inclusion of her English voice bank was confirmed with the release of Kaito V3, and it was being developed the same way Kaito's was. The original queen of Voca Rock returned on February 4, 2014 to great celebration and fanfare. And not just from us old-timey Meiko fans either. Meiko V3 is currently Krypton Future Media's best-selling product. And she fully intends to reclaim her throne. Although, had things happened slightly differently, that statement might have been more opinion than fact. Like with Kaito, many append voice banks were created for Meiko, and not all of them were selected for her final version. The release version of Meiko V3 was originally going to have 4 voice banks like Kaito V3. A straight voice bank, which is meant to be similar to her original V1 voice bank, a dark voice bank with a deeper voice for slower songs, a whisper voice bank, and finally an English voice bank. But in 2013, the Krypton developer Watt had a curious thought. One of the append voice banks developed during the period of the project when it was still on the V2 engine was known as Meiko Power. This voice bank was recorded all the way back in 2009, but due to limitations of the V2 engine, it did not work very well, so it was shelved. For some reason, Watt thought of this voice bank 4 years later, and thought about moving it to the Vocaloid 3 engine to see if it would be any better. The engine update proved so successful that Meiko Power was not only added to Meiko V3's release package, but it is her default voice bank. It is the voice Krypton wants new fans to associate with Meiko rather than her straight voice bank. And when you listen to it, it's no wonder. Her Power voice bank sounds amazing, and it has the highest tempo and vocal ranges of her voice banks. Most of the songs made with Meiko V3 so far have been made with her Power voice bank, because a 14-day free trial version of Meiko Power was released in December, and it is still available as of the middle of March 2014. As for her English voice bank, it is on par with Meiko V3's English voice bank in terms of quality and capabilities. So if you thought Miku's pronunciation and clarity were good, you can expect similar results from Meiko. But since it's not an improvement from Meiko English, Meiko's English is still not a good substitute for a Western-produced English Vocaloid. The problem with the Krypton English voice banks is that they have extremely narrow optimum tempo and vocal ranges. For example, Meiko Straight has a suggested tempo range of 70 beats per minute to 160. Meiko's English suggested range is 100 beats per minute to 130. That only covers 1/3 of the range of Meiko Straight. In contrast, Megpoid English has a suggested tempo range of 75 beats per minute to 175. Now, these ranges are only guidelines, not hard limits, but going too far beyond them may result in distortion, and it means that the V3 Krypton English voice banks are very restrictive compared to other English voice banks. I imagine this will be different for Luca V3 because her V2 voice banks had the same tempo and vocal ranges, which is why her ability to switch between them deftly remains unique to this day. I think one of the reasons Meiko appeals to me is that she is one of the most down-to-earth of the Vocaloids. I mean, Miku and Tony Rion are from the future, Rin and Len are basically clones, Lapis and Merle are fairies, Luo Qianyu is an angel, the Power Effects family is made up of cyborgs, and most Vocaloids are as bold and colorful as the Las Vegas Strip. But there are a few Vocaloids like Meiko who are essentially normal people, and there's beauty in that. It's not just her appearance either, it's her voice bank as well. Many Vocaloids have their voices manipulated digitally, or their voice providers are instructed to sing a certain way to fit a role, like a voice actor would. Meiko, on the other hand, has a very natural, mature voice, and I think that has the potential to draw in different fans than the majority of Japanese Vocaloids do. As for her character design, Meiko's 2004 box art was the first Vocaloid product to depict an avatar, but it was there to make the box look more appealing, not to create an actual character to represent Meiko. It was the fandom that gave Krypton the idea to consciously create characters for the Vocaloids to follow. As a result, Meiko never had an official character design, so her clothes look different from one picture to the next, even in official artwork. Meiko V3 gives us our first official head-to-toe design for Meiko, and she is simply lovely. Her outfit might seem a little simple to most, but that's what I like about it. I also like that her promotional artwork has a similar pose to the 2004 box art. It's a really nice touch. Meiko V3 is not being heavily marketed outside of Japan, so if you want a boxed copy, you will have to import it. She is available for purchase on sites for North America and Europe as a digital download of about $180. For that money, you get her 4 Japanese voice banks, the English voice bank, the Pia Pro Studio application, as well as a program called Studio One Artist Pia Pro Edition. Studio One is a DAW, or Digital Audio Workstation. It includes 200 digital instruments that allows you to make your own music for the Vocaloids to sing to, and it is designed to integrate with the Pia Pro Studio editor itself. With its V3 updates, Krypton is trying to satisfy longtime Vocaloid fans and experienced producers, as well as make Vocaloid easier to get into for people who want to start making Vocaloid music for the first time. So they are turning PIA Pro Studio into a one-stop shop, as it were, to give new users the basic tools to start making songs. The Vocaloid software itself can't handle music, it only does the voice synthesis, so a DAW program is necessary if you want to make your own music for the Vocaloid to sing to.
懐かしい思い出がにじむ遥かなる空は胸を咲くように忘れかけた記憶を覚ます溢れるは涙Without trying to catch that original paper cup. There's a battle ahead. Many battles are lost, but you'll never see the end of the road while you're traveling with me. Hey now, don't dream it's over. Hey now, when the world comes in, they come to build a wall between